weak or stiff muscle.
We can get started. Rollback, Musa. Welcome to All Eyes on Egypt, New Jersey, questions and answer class. Before we take questions, I do want to read the pledge of the Sabaeans, which is called Pa Rahan Shalal Musbatu, the pledge of Sabians. Nakuk Rahun Tayuan Leye Wu-Sabat. I pledge allegiance to Wu-Sabat. Shalal Pa Tahuda Musbat Shabat of the United Sabian Tribe. Wahu Muisar Tehet Masbat Wu Masat. One family under Sirius and Orion. Korea Sahu Rakuk. Sahu Hakum. Sahu Fa'ahum. With right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding. Lahe Kalal Sahu Da'hum Korea Jamud Sahu Nakus, which is for all right overstanding with sound right reasoning. And with that, we do open up class for any questions. As student teachers, we'll do our best to answer the question. Any questions? Tua, right back.
I was wondering if Baba ever wrote what currency they might use when he says like the planet has been purchased by other extraterrestrials like the Andromedans.
Right. So when you ask the form of currency, I have not heard the master teacher say like a form that we know for monetary exchange. Most times when planets are given over or lose control or taken over by other species, it comes in the form of an agreed circumstance or contract that's agreed upon at the Galactic Federation.
Okay.
If XYZ happens, then you will get such and such.
Okay.
And those that are under commission in the Federation, they will wait and abide by those rules. Then you have the others who don't want to abide and they want to take over the planet by causing chaos and things of that nature. So I haven't heard that he's wrote a specific form of currency like monetary value, because a lot of those species are a lot older than us here, and money doesn't have the same value.
Right.
So it would be a different form of currency.
Right.
Yeah. Good question though. Any other questions? Yes, McDowell.
Last week was mentioned. Can you explain the word matrix and how it doesn't apply to us, or in the form that they made it in like social media?
It doesn't have the same meaning as the public generation takes. Right? So when you hear matrix, When somebody says the word matrix, those of us that don't know automatically we're thinking, oh, the movie Matrix, right? But the concept of the meaning of the word matrix is actually a mathematical formula. This planet has a matrix. And when we get in tune with the planet, then we're on wavelength F, right? We have, our own bodies have matrix or mathematical properties associated to how we should be vibrating. And then the feminine, she has an even greater form of a matrix because she can actually replicate something that comes externally, and then she takes it in. So her matrix is fluid, as it were. It changes by what she comes in contact with. So when we hear the word matrix, those of us that are students of sound right reasoning, we know it doesn't mean, oh, the movie The Matrix. But they were incorrect, they were correct insofar as the principle. The matrix meaning, if you're in the matrix, that means you're not aware of real life or the real world. Because the mathematical properties set up by Agent Smith or those, they set up a mathematical property that dictates your reality. But when you wake up and become aware, you are outside the matrix and you see that. So how does that occur with us? How do we get past that matrix? Because this is a matrix out there. This is the illusionary world, right? But how do we get past that? When we begin to find our true matrix, as it were, mathematical properties, meaning our bodies are vibrating and our glands or that start to line up. What happens then? Then the patah opens, your divine eye. So now you see the real world. That's how we can surpass that. But the masses of people outside, they're not even aware that they're in the matrix. They think life is good and bad as we're living it now, as opposed to being just is. And I have the power to determine the destiny, right? You ever heard the term, some people say, when you meet somebody, you were supposed to meet them? That's true to a certain level. However, if you're living in natural nature, that other person that you may never meet, you only met them because you did something that changed the destiny, and that rerouting of your destiny opened a way for them to have access to you. And that same person that you meet may be problematic because they were sent to you if you open up to them to pull you off the path, right? But if you're living by natural nature, then you can say, I'm fulfilling my destiny. And everybody that I do come in contact with, I'll either take it as a lesson because they were disagreeable or didn't agree with the path journey, and I won't get stuck. As long as you're aware, you won't get distracted. So yeah, it's true. Everybody you meet, you're supposed to meet, but what did you do to give them access to come into your life? Right? Again, it's matrix. Supreme mathematics of the self. And when we actually tie into that, people who may mean us harm or want to do us harm, they won't be able to get through. One, because you have your what? That psychic self-defense. You vibrate on a frequency that they can't get to. Those are the ones who act weird around you because they don't know how to get to you, right? So they're the ones like, they may be feeling a certain way about you, but you'll have a friend in common. But because the other friend who's common, his frequency is more aligned to you, y'all are building and they don't know how because they're on a lesser frequency. So they can't comprehend what the key is to you. And we have to remain like that because we're not supposed to be in contact with everybody. We're not supposed to allow everybody in our universe. The master teacher Bobby YAANAN says that, right? We are the creators of our own universe. So any monster that comes into your universe, you gave them the code to get in.
Dracula.
All of that. But see, even Dracula has rules, though, since you mentioned that. What's the rule of Dracula? You have to. So then you change your destiny. The invitation is giving them access. Y'all follow that? Okay. So yeah, when you hear the word matrix, you can look in our scroll, Dimensional Shift, with the master teacher, Bobby YAANAN, talks about the matrix of the planet. That's why it's a dimensional shift. Of course, it's mentioned first, but the planet is now humming as it's moving into the next dimension. So those of us who are not able to vibrate with the Earth's matrix and move and ascend with it, what happens to us? We descend. There's only two types of people now, ascending or descending. And if you're not vibrating with the rules of natural nature and in its progress, then you fall to the wayside. Right? That's just sound right reasoning. Sound, right, and reasoning. We have to have all of those working in conjunction to see or feel what's happening. on the planet. All right, I pray that answered the question. I know
Sure,
it
sure.
a little bit. Okay.
Sure.
All right. I wanted to share something with you. I gotta find it again. I'll find it in a minute. No, it wasn't that page. Might be a little further. This is, am I reading the right one? Yes. Okay. All right, I got it. I'll find it. I just want to share something. Let's get you. No, it's not that far back. Was it? Well, you have any questions? I'm gonna find it. Yes, tomorrow.
Going back to what Sister said about false currency,
Yes.
is the RFID chip connected or synonymous with Bitcoin? Would it like, will we have to get the chip in order to access the Bitcoin if you know?
I see what you're saying. So what happens with your question, when you talk about the RIFD, is am I saying that right? RIFD, right. So it's a chip, meaning it can be programmed to accept any form of currency. So once the powers that be say, hey, we're truly going to be a cashless society, and Bitcoin is accepted form, but right now it isn't. And why isn't Bitcoin accepted universally? What doesn't it have where other monetary systems have in order for it to be accepted?
It's not backed.
Say that again.
It's not backed all the way with.
That's right.
Bonds or
It's not
treasuries.
insured.
Yeah.
It's not. So if it's not federally backed, you can put all your money in it, but you gotta know when to get out, because you can wake up tomorrow and they say it's lost its value. So your real money that you put in is gone, and you don't have a recourse. At least with the banks, you have a recourse up to a certain monetary amount. So, like, to go back to your question, when you say, is Bitcoin going to be accepted? That depends on the federal regulators. If they decide and then they want to put the chip in you, but again, you have to accept that. It's not yet mandatory in the United States.
Sure.
It is in certain countries in Europe. But that's them, Europeans, you know what I'm saying? So that's just further proof that we don't need to be a part of that system. Don't get so caught up in it that you obey all of the dictates to it. Like you feel compelled to have this and to have that and have that. Especially if it goes against natural nature. There's a no-win scenario. It might sound good, it might sound right, but it won't reason out, right? So, as we were reading in the pledge of the Sabaeans, Sabians, when you talk fast, the last line that I read was La Hekalau Sahu Tahun Karejamut Sahu Napush, right? Which is for all, right? Overstanding with sound, right reasoning. So what is sound, right reasoning, other than the way we express it? You know, right? It might sound right, don't reason out, we ain't gonna accept it. That's fine. but what is the, like, with everything you have the apparent and then you have the unapparent. So a lot of things in the doctrine, if you're not allowing the doctrine to get inside of you and settle and start to heal you so you can feel it, not just repeat it. If you're not doing that, you're going to miss the essence of what sound right reasoning is. So the master teacher in this actual fact 108, prove by way of partner bad YAANAN, let's walk with him for a couple of verses. So verse 658, the master teacher says, sound equals vibrational waves of YAANAN or color. 658, right equals being on the exact right frequency to have an effect. As in our case, as a race, it's F major, A major, and C major. 659, reason equals two forms. One is the reason why, two is logical thinking. 660. So we have sound right reason. Its active state is creation at work by creators, inspirators or inspirators, and revelators, from outformation into information, from the mental reservoir of the omniverse to the mind of each, and this is important, to the mind of each what? Who can tap into its flow. And mind becomes mind, right? So yet you have been untuned over these past 6,000 years and now must be realigned to hear them. So what I just read was verse 658, 657, 658, and 659. But where you're listening, because I numbered it especially that way. I mean, the master teacher wrote it, but I read the verses out in order. So what was the first word of verse 658? Sound. The first word of, 657 was sound. 658 was right. And 659 was reason. If you don't turn yourself to be in tune with the F major, A major, and C major, you only heard words. But if you're in tune and you tap to the flow, you heard me say sound, right, reason. Because that's what I said. Sound equals this, right equals that. Reason, you have this. So we have two forms of reason. One form is the reason why. And all of us go through that. Before you react to something, you must process the reason why. Why? And why am I deciding to answer that person? Or why am I deciding not to answer that? But the answer to the question of why is the second part of reason, which is called logical thinking. So if you're thinking logically, you're going to come to the best result of why you do or do not a thing. If you know, that makes sense, right? So the master teacher says those three have to work together, right? And it is coming from the mental reservoir, which is of the omniverse, to mind of each who can tap into the flow. How many of us are walking around and we're not tapping into the flow? How do we know that? Because some things don't make sense, but they're actually sensible. But when you tap in, you see the sound, right, reason of the way you're moving. You're tapping into the flow of natural nature. It means you're in agreement with the universe. And if you're in agreement with the universe, you'll learn how to let the things go that are preventing you from staying in touch with this wavelength. How do you know? Did you ever look out the corner of your eye and think you saw a form? And then you go to look with your physical eye and it's not there, but you felt it was there through the peripheral. That was tapping in. And the minute you went like that, you literally dropped in vibration because now you're trying to focus with the physical eye, which doesn't work with the eye, really doesn't work with the eye. You see what I'm saying? Logical thinking. All right? I just wanted to share that because I found it actually was really, really interesting. So I just wanted to share that. Yes, towards the multi.
If the men were from Orion, how were they able to procreate, or were they just getting the male babies super serious?
Nice. All right, I just want to read the first few verses from Patriarch Atlantis, and then we can delve into the question of how that happened, right? Verse 1, Master Teacher BABAH says, Likun, my Marakaradu, beloved children, loves of my life, jewels of my Ayantui eyes. Verse 2, there was much said about Atlantis, or the site of vacations. 3, it was told in the far-off lands that there was a time, I'm going in time, this thing was taking place. There was a time where, there was a time when Sobek and Wu-Sabat, Sirius and Orion, were not apart from Pa-Kawak, the planet Earth, and the heavens, meaning they were joined. There was a connection. You know what that is now, it's the third chord. So, 4, it was known that Sobek, Sirius star constellation, was ruled by Nasatatu, female rulers. 5, and it was known that Sahat, Orion star constellation, was ruled by Nasatu, male rulers. 6, both were Natharu, agreeable, Wahanu, overseers, benevolent. 7, respecting each other. 8, so the two were joined. So when you say if they were from different star constellations, the minute they were joined, that means they were cohabitating, right? So the women, of course, were able to make children on their own, procreate on their own, but they still had to have a vision of what they wanted, which would be the male rulers. So even though they would visit each other's star constellations, once the male child was born, that's when he was exiled to his home planet, so he could be raised in an environment of his gender. So they came together right here, which says they respected each other. So the two were joined. So they were joined in all forms of existence, which meant eventually procreation. So that's how. Right. I pray that answers the question. Do you have any other questions online? Or go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I want to expand on what you said before. So sometimes you think you might have seen something.
Correct.
It happens like, and then you look again and it's nothing. That might be a situation where your vibration, or you might be what exactly might that be?
Sometimes when that happens, now I'm saying sometimes, I can't speak on everybody's personal, but a lot of times when it happens, it's because at that moment in time, you had an uptick in your spiritual frequency. So you're able to see spiritual beings. You follow that? So like you said, well, I saw a shadow, but you knew you were alone, so what would be the shadow? Now let's not get that confused with the mind's eye projecting certain things that are not actually there. I'm talking about when you actually feel it. You feel the presence, and it's out of the corner of the eye, and you see it moving, or you might hear a sound or a voice or something like that. But the minute you blink, that being who may be moving between the tick and the tock, when you blink, they were able to leave. Just like that. See what I'm saying? But I can't say that's what happened to any of you personally. I'm talking about me and you. When it happens to you, then it becomes real, right? So now you're experiencing the existence of ethereal beings, right? Now, are etheric beings, I'm just going to write it here. I got a nice handwriting. I'm going to cheat a little bit. So, you put it right here. This is how, when I say the master teacher is developing us as his children, to be able to think on a different level. We're able to see the apparent, but understand the unapparent. So I'm going to write this word. We're talking about ethereal, we're going to experience ethereal beings, right? So I'm just going to write this word right here. Ethereal beings, that's what you can sometimes feel, because they come in different forms of expression or different forms of, what's the word, for existence, YAANAN, right? So they come in different expressions of existence. Some are seen, some are semi-seen, and some are unseen, but they're felt or smelt, things like that. So when we talk about ethereal beings, you say, okay, do they really exist? Look at the word. Now, through right knowledge, you see ether, ethereal. So that means these beings are real. The ether is real. But you have to be conditioned and groomed enough to even feel that. How many people are walking around and they don't have no conception or logical awareness that these beings exist on any level? So when you first say it to a person like that, you're going to run up against defiance of the conversation. And we have to be able to determine in patience how to leave them there until their flower of awareness blooms and they can get what you're talking about. But when you see ethereal beings, that means that those are real ether beings. And when you become one, they become just as real to you as we are to each other right now. Right? And if you can maintain that thought logically and not get quote unquote spooked out, you're now at the threshold of a higher understanding of all existence, of which you are a part. You can't even discount yourself because you are part of that. When you go, nah, that don't exist, you're literally trying to say that you don't. Because there was a point in time that you were pre-matter. You were not natural ether energy, slowing down to become. And now you're at the very bottom. Physically, you're at the slowest and lowest, two of them tomorrow.
Just spark something.
Yes.
In the Patra, I can't remember the exact one.
Okay.
One of the elders read, and he said, ritual is the soul, what food is the body. And
I remember that. Yeah.
Those are
Exactly.
favorites.
Exactly.
Being that today we're ending our fast,
Yes.
and I was just wondering, as an elder, what would the difference be between the older schools, like Ansar, when we fasted, versus today and the information and the way we perform our rituals with fast?
Okay. Right. So we have to recall. We go back to Mysteries of the Egyptian Ma'at, when the master teacher was saying he taught us those older schools as if he believed it, so that we can delve in full soul, fully commit to it. So the difference is that those are the dictates of those lower degrees, and as those who walk with the master from then to now and then, right? Those who are walking with him, we see the progression and the changes of it. So now we're in the now, and what the difference is how the fast is done. Back in Ansar days, I don't recall us fasting the first 2 days of the month. That's more hereafter doctrine. And I'm thinking back, I don't really recall, and Cecilia, you could tell me, Mukdal, you did the
Just Ramadan.
yeah, just the master teacher ever tell us about fasting on your birthday. See, that came a little later. When you really found out how close your modality was to translating, giving birth to you. Where the Arabians get the word Abdur Rahman, Abdur Rahim. We know in our language that simply means to the womb. And what did the womb do? Yielded. By her mercy, it yielded. Yes.
You said, is that, to be clear, you're saying that relates to why we fast on the day of our birthday because of the connection to our mother's hand?
Yes, yes, because she literally was at the brink of Mawat, or death. But she yielded, she was ready to yield up her life through mercy for us to be born. So in remembrance of that, the day that you were born, you fast. Just to honor that particular, again, the woman, the feminine, she is closest to the overstanding of deity that we have on this plane. So you have to honor her. You have to honor her. And remembering the day that you were born is remembering the sacrifice she's willing to make so that you could be born. She put in a lot of work. That's why they say she go into labor. She's been working the whole time. You know what I mean? Gestation, gas station, different forms that you were taking inside of her, and she was yielding you from all of that, from the very pyramid of her nose and the hair blocking out stuff, but only sifting in the particles that was necessary to give you flesh to survive once you came on land. We have to respect that. So yeah, the rituals have progressed because we are being developed. So we know that now we fast for different reasons, but the reasons are more akin to our natural nature. Back then it was just to develop a spiritual discipline, right? And those who were walking with the master teacher back then and was in it for the spirituality, they knew. They understood the changes. It's like we said that we follow the land wherever he may go. So if he's saying turn left, why am I questioning? That's because something in me spiritually is rebelling against what I should do. Because if you know him to be who he is, okay, the fast changed, the rules of it changed, but the principle of it is still defined within us as spiritual development. Because what happens when the day comes when we don't have food, and we've been practicing fasting for years. We can logically survive that. Where those who have it, you're gonna see the bestiality in them come out. You know what I mean? Because the sun cycle is here, and all the fake masks are gone. They're gone. So even something as simple as fasting, if it's still problematic for a person, they have to do a little work. Just a little inner work to get to the point where they don't feel like they're losing something. You're actually gaining something. You're gaining discipline. You're gaining fortitude. So when the food really goes bad, until we learn to get together and grow our own, we still have the ability to abstain from the poisonous foods. So the least amount of contact, the better for our bodies. So that's what it is. But yeah, it's a difference. It was a difference, but the reason, intact, I did our food. The reason is what it is, and we should see that reasoning. We have to see the reasoning. To a Mukdal.
The name of that book is The Seen and the Unseen, and it never was released.
The seen and the unseen. See, right? That was it. Okay. You found it? You over there reading? I just remember.
That's my favorite one for not being released.
Yeah, the readings was something else, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right. The readings was something else.
The ancestors, and
Yep.
that's a real good point. Rituals, the power of rituals.
Right.
And he hasn't even taught us all of the rituals yet.
Because we're not acting like we're worthy enough to get it. We're still acting like babies, even though he calls us karadu. Spiritually, we should be a lot older than what we are. We still got pouty reasons. I want to pout. I want to do that. Right? Like how many people don't realize the word spiritual and ritual? They're the same. Those are the rights of the spirit. Right? So when you say I'm a spiritual being, that means for us to develop the spirit to the point that it's right for all of us. Right, you all are where? In the spirit. If you get right there, now it's time for you that you can exist successfully in the spiritual realm, the spiritual plane. Don't go to that realm thinking like a physical being, because then you become too heavy to exist. in that realm. And then you just get into that vicious loop, that recycle thing, until we get past that. That's glad you found, he said, the seen and the unseen, right?
Yeah. I know a brother that, let's just say he's light skinned, right? So he heard Pop say there's a ritual for like giving him an upgrade.
Okay.
So he heard it himself. And he said he's gonna be the first in line for it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're all supposed to be spiritually developing, right?
Yeah.
To the point where what happens when we spiritually develop? We live by the what? Come on, say it. You live by the soul. You don't even live by the spirit because they're in conflict with each other, right? Because the spirit is really likened to the personality, the things that you personally agree with or personally disagree with. And that's why you say, oh, that person has a good spirit or that person has a bad spirit. You're really saying they have a good or bad personality because the way they take things personally is how they're going to react to you. But when you live by the soul, that's when you are what? Unconditional. So you're not setting parameters on how we deal with each other. We accept each other, acknowledge each other for how we are, but I'm not going to hold that against you because you are different from me. We're really only talking about the spirit. But the one big soul is unified. And when we begin to think like that, we can get past a lot of these issues that we claim we have with one another. It's just not that important at the end of the day because we're all trying to go home. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, now I'm going to have to look for that one. Thanks. I'm going to have to look for that.
Well, that's why when Christians would say, like if someone is like, oh, praise God, and you're like, oh, you're a Christian. And I'm like, no, I'm spiritual.
Right.
Because you didn't see them doing stuff that ain't so Christian.
That ain't so Christian. Right. And they just put the umbrella up on spiritual. I saw your spirit was thirsty. Because I saw you coming out with the little sippy sip. You know what I mean? What was that? So we had to it's a phrase, I think it's in one of these books, where that's a good point, where people claim to be a certain way, a certain thing. And it's important that if you're claiming it, if you claim it, then be it. Be it. Because even if a person was acting, if they act long enough, it becomes them. The mask becomes their face. So even in acting a certain way, if you do it long enough, you actually change into that. So if you're acting right, then you can say, I'm righteous. Literally. You don't have to say it. Your actions will say it for you. You don't have to say it to nobody. Your actions will actually say, oh, that person is living a righteous way of life based upon the spirituality set that they claim. Right?
You'd be walking into alchemy at that point, right?
You walking where?
Alchemy at that point, because you're kind of transforming.
Well, alchemy in the sense of you transform from one way up to another way, right?
Yeah, because it's like, if you stay angry,
right,
or you actually become, like if you hold stuff in, you actually become that.
Yes.
So
yes, I get where you're going with that. Right, right. But see, our doctrine, Wu-Sabat, Nuwapu, Nubian Nation, whatever you overstand it to be at this point in your development, that's what it does. It's transformational, meaning the form is in transit from one state to another. And the movement should always be an ascension. Till you get above ascending and descending, and you just are. Now you're in the mental reservoir. You're rubbing up against Papa to begin to understand what Papa is. Right? Y'all heard the phrase where the Master Teacher says, walk in the light of the day as if all can see you at all times. Let's do another journey between apparent and unapparent. Walk in the light of the day as if all can see you at all times. That's what we're just talking about, saying you claim to be something, so you should always walk like that, right? But let's go on the other side of the word. Walk in the light of the day as if all Pa'ut can see you at all times. Is that so? Does Pa'ut see all of us? Right? So if you carry the message to a deeper meaning for you, it should be a lot more serious, that you should just not act it, just be it. Don't act it. Because if you act it means when I'm not looking, you go back into be something else. But you want to come around me and act like you're something else. So you miss the whole meaning of transforming. You're staying the same, just being secretive. When you come around me, you act a certain way. But like you said, alchemy or transformation, that takes place on a cellular level, a DNA level, a mental level. So the energy that you emit over time becomes real to people. And if we're all in that same frame of mind, we can feel it off each other. When you rob back me, that's real. Imagine like my Zamar Khafre, he said a couple of classes, imagine if we developed to the point where we could actually hear other people's thoughts. And I come up, yo, rob back, yo, it's my man. But you hear me think, I can't stand this all the time. Why are you so happy? But you can hear that. Now, if that would make you feel unpleasant or uncomfortable to come around that person, magnify that by 1,000,000 times when the master teacher comes around us. And we're sitting and he's giving a class and he can look and tell that you hate him. Or you got some form of envy, whatever, because you just haven't developed yet. You know what I mean? You haven't developed to the point where you really understand what's in front of you or who's in front of you, the magnitude of the mentality. So we have to stop acting, because acting means you're going by a script. Either you wrote it, or society wrote it, or the environment wrote it, or things of that nature. When you go through natural nature, there is no script. There is just natural nature, and you tapping into that way.
That would involve a level of self-mastery, I guess. Because
Of course.
you have to detach
Of course.
to get to that point.
Of course. So what's the journey then? I like that. You said self-mastery. So when we say we master ourselves, what do we become? Do we become selfish because I'm mastering myself? Or do we become selfless because I'm giving up that part that I claim as just being so unique and it's apart from others? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any other questions? We have any online, Jamal?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is from Don Murray.
Hey, why you watch? Hey, Tom, tack for that. For the fast, all right? I appreciate you.
Sean Murray.
Okay, Don Mary, roll back, Jamal.
So roll back on the sauce. I've been reading the potential.
Okay.
Is it better to replace the names Al Kalum with Papa Anunnaki with Nathar, etc.?
Yes, only because that's now what it is. So you should say, you know, like, you should read it and get the true message out of it, and the title should not be so important that it makes you go back to thinking the older degrees. But if it's easier for you to comprehend, process, and actually absorb it, yes, instantly just change that, because that's where we are, for sure, for sure. Don't tell us it's gonna be a short one. And anybody playing with us today?
I got one.
Two of them moved out.
Is this, what is, any latest word on this how you pronounce it, 3I Atlas? Anything from BABAH on that? Or
I haven't. And from the most recent tribal call, nothing was mentioned about that, so I haven't heard it. But you know, social media and the media itself, they were saying it was to be visible last Friday that passed. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah,
You know.
they're saying so much that
Yeah, the stories start to conflict after a while. One is a comet, one is not. One is self-driven, one is not. You know what I mean?
it's losing its mass, but it's gaining.
But
at
it's
the same
gaining,
time.
so things like that. We have to be really wary of that type of information.
To BABAH.
Yeah, it expounds on it, you know. Yeah, so we just had to be wise and be watchful, you know. Any other questions?
I have another one.
Two of them moved out.
Yeah. One of the favorite subjects is course, call on the ancestors. So
Tua.
why is it said that when we call on our ancestors, that we're helping them as we call them to help us?
Right. So when you say ancestors, are you talking about the Sabu or are you talking about Panatharu as well?
I say both.
Okay. So basically, let's start with the Nasabu, your relatives.
That's the
You're
first.
definitely helping them when you call on them.
That's true.
Because they're not just in the spiritual world and they can see you and fear that you can't see them. They can hear you and fear that you can't hear them. So when you make that connection, if you steadily progress along the spiritual development on this side, you actually bring those along who did not progress yet, because you bind them to you, as the Spirit teaches us. So when you're doing that, you're helping them, and they help you from over there on little aspects of your life. You just have to learn to listen for them. Now we talk about Panatharu, it's because they have a shook for us, right? And we have to understand that with that same ashuk, it hurts them more when we deviate from what we should be, because they see the full potential in us because we're related to them. But when we're not living that pain for them is more pronounced, because they have heightened senses of these things, and they see that we're altering our destiny in a negative way, right? So that does hurt them, but also it helps them when they see us progressing the way we should. They're like, okay, we have more beings that are going to elevate to this state, this lofty state that we exist in, and they're coming home. So yeah, that's how.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes, Mom.
Do you think we live in the past, present, and future at the same time, and do our future self come back to our present self or past self to
Okay.
help?
All right, no, that's a good question. That's a good question. So let's start with the first part. When you ask, do I think that we live in past, present, and future? Yes, because it's one timeline. Time doesn't move the way we think it does in a circular pattern, things like that. So yeah, let's put it this way. If you were to recall something that you categorize as the past, and it was a pleasant memory, right? And you recall that, if you smile again, then you're living there. If it moves your emotions to bring a smile or sadness, you've actually traveled back to that point in your timeline, right? And then you say, I'm going to get this, and you really focus on, I'm going to get this, and it's going to look like this, and it's going to shape like this, and then when you get it, then you go there to see it. So when you finally, when that future time comes, you actually got exactly what you thought. How did you do that? You can go forward. So now the other part of your question is, because going forward or seeing your future self, your current self, and even looking back at your past self, we're just using that for the question. What you're dealing with now is called quantum physics and quantum entanglement, where you can actually go back and see and be at three different places or at the same time. So there's a higher science to that. So now if you're asking, can your future self come back, and the idea that you got to help yourself may be coming from one of your Nasabus, we were just talking about, one of your relatives who's on the other side, they ain't coming to help you. So as far as your future self coming back, I mean, it would be difficult to say that that's specifically what's happening, because if that was so, are you now able to go back and help your younger self? See that? So if you haven't mastered that type of science, be able to say, yeah, I can confirm, I can go back and tell my younger self, don't do such and such, but you have to be careful not to make a decision that's going to alter the existence that you have now on that timeline. See what I'm saying? So that type of process wasn't mastered when the Philadelphia experience happened, that experiment. That's why some of their timelines was altered, and some of them got trapped in the vortex, and some of them got trapped back on the boat because they didn't understand the quantum entanglement principles. So if we don't fully understand it, we can ponder it, we can consider it, we're not able to actually enact that. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when you get these inklings of good suggestions or good advice, It's your Wu-Sabat, your relatives that are telling you that. And they say, don't do this and don't do that. You know what I mean? So we have to really learn how to master those higher sciences to be able to be able to enact quantum entanglement. And when you reach that height mentally, you'll see it all. You see all the timelines. If we can do that, what we call it memory, for the most part, you can go back. But to remember something is not the same thing as going back and actually feeling what you felt that day. Like when you get older, we listen to music from when we were younger.
Yeah, you feel that.
And you go back there. Yeah, you go back there. All the aches and pains go away while you're enjoying that music. So it's a real thing. It's just we have to learn how to do it at will. If that makes sense.
Question.
Yes, tomorrow.
I forgot if it's part of like 1 or 2 when BABAH said, get yourself in position or be with those of higher rank. What does he mean? Higher rank physically or spiritually?
Yeah, it would be more so spiritually. Because the ranks on the physical plane come and go. Right? I can have a rank or a title per se. And if you read Pantarak, relaxation, it's the position that's stationary. The person sitting in that seat is temporary. So we're talking about higher ranks. That means as a master teacher, he was of the highest society on risk. So he has higher rank in the spiritual realm. How do you know? Because he can write or omit the names in the book of life. That's a higher rank, right? So you want to be under the tutelage, under the guidance of someone of that rank, so that you can learn how to get in order and become one of those if you're serious enough about it. All right, I pray that answers the question.
So what's up?
And tag out there our food.
Question from B-Lane.
Delay, Rob Basimov,
So Robert Musa,
tour.
is there rituals that should be done when calling on our ancestors, or is it done by divine thought?
All right. And with that, I will pass the class to Masamar Khafre so you get that build on. Yeah. It's coming up, Masamar. It's coming up. So that was B-Lane. Oh, we got another question too.
Robert.
Rob back.
How's everyone feeling?
Doing our best. Trust me. Okay, I see his question, so yeah. All right.
So is there a ritual that should be done when calling on our ancestors, or is it done by divine thought? So first we have to understand first what a ritual is, right?
Mhm.
A ritual is just a structured, repeated set of patterns, things that we do to get into the mood of whatever we're trying to do. So in our culture, we do have a ritual to communicate with our ancestors. We talk about getting an altar, getting a white sheet,
Right.
getting candles, getting a picture of the individual that you're trying to talk to.
Mhm.
If you have other family members on the panel, put them down and only pull up the one that you want to talk to.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you communicate to them the same way you communicate to humans right now. And you will receive a message. It could be impressionable, meaning you may not, depending on your spiritual level, right? Some people who are highly spiritual talk directly to their ancestors and communicate just like we're communicating now.
Mhm.
People who are not on that high spiritual level, they may get impressions. They may ask for something and something pops up in life that you asked your ancestors for, but they didn't talk to you about it, but it pops up later on. And that would be your answer for that person. You know what I'm saying? So we do have rituals. And now, when a person gets to a level where they're beyond rituals, then you can do it at will.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? That means you don't need to set up altars and things of that nature. You just know how to communicate because you're in tune like that. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. If you had to communicate with an ancestor right now, there's no counter, there's no candles. How are you going to do it right now? A person who's in tune and tapped in, they don't have to do the whole setup. But the setup is good to get you eased into the process of making it happen for yourself and setting the mood to a spiritual mood so you can communicate with your ancestors.
No, you good. All right, we have another question online from Muqdal Maratat. It says, Raubat Muisar, do clones have emotion and do the clones ever meet each other?
First, we got to understand that when people talk about clones, they're not really talking about clones, they're talking about dubs. When you talk about
Dubs?
a dub,
D-U-B?
D-U-B,
Yeah, dub.
Gotcha.
or and that's a short form of saying a duplicate.
Mm.
See, clone means to twig, and the cloning process is totally different from dubbing somebody. Most people don't know that. If you go back to the book called Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, right? I'm gonna read it for you. It says, is a clone the same as a duplicate, right? He said no. As I said before, a clone is produced from twigging, gene splicing. Cloning is just the process of multiplying the one cell. When the copies get passed to, it's not a dub. Dub means double, right? So the person's question is what? A dub, really. Not multiple, more than two, which is clones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his question was, what it have to do with emotions now?
Yeah, she's asking, do clones or doves have emotion, and do they ever meet each other?
So clones have emotions. We have to understand one thing. We have a concept looking at emotions spiritually in our culture. Then you have a concept of emotions in general. If you have any form of hate in you, if you have the ability to hate, right, you have emotions. If you have the ability to love, you have emotions. The ability to get scared, you have emotions. So a clone, being that a clone or a duplicate, is a copy of somebody else. They have emotions. Now, is the emotions going to be the same is the question. And no, only in the case of them being raised in the same environment together. What I mean is, a dove is the DNA is very much the same person, right? But the spirit, the soul aspect, if it be a soul person, is not this. Well, I should say not the soul part. But if it be a soul person, we know it's one soul. But if it's a being itself, everyone have different type of personalities, and depending on how they grow up, a dove could grow up in an environment with a person, and if they're going through the same exact experiences, then they will have similar emotions. But if they live two different places and go through different things, right? They won't have the same emotions. You understand? You have people who are not sensitive to things that people consider to be sensitive towards because of what they've been through in their own personal life. A person went through hell in their personal life, right? And let's say they lost their family, they lost this, they lost that. They get to the point of being numb, to the point they look at people as, I lose people. And they can get to the point where that's not even an emotion that they identify with no more. So they get into a little breakup, it become like, it's just a breakup. It's just another day, another part of life that I expected to happen anyway. Because it happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? So they don't feel nothing. And they appear to be emotionless, but they're not. So clones do have emotions, but their emotion will be different based on the environment. Now, can you meet a clone, your clone? Can you meet your clone? That's
Right,
the question,
that was the question. Yeah, do they ever meet? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if the person was cloned or duped or dubbed, right, you can meet them. However, if we're talking about a concept, I know sometimes we're talking about the exact person you are from a different time stream will be a different situation. Because that's not a clone. That is you in another time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But a clone, yeah, clones can meet each other. There's many clones that he gave us in the book. He said, you look up, and these are popular clones that they don't even know that they're clones, right? Dennis Miller, TV comedian, Oliver North, former Marine. Those are clones of each other, or dubs of each other. I'll show the pictures after. Jane West and Glenda Jackson, both are actresses. Robert Dole, ex-senator, and then entertainer, singer, Desi Arnaz. These are clones. And remember, your clone also could be younger or older than you. So this clone could be older and this clone could be younger. It don't have to be the same age, right? A popular one is Jerry Stiller and Chuck Berry. I know people know Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry Stiller. Look at their pictures and you'll notice that they look very much the same. Just one is white, one is black. You know what I'm saying? And another one is Anwar Sadat and George Jefferson.
That's right.
Sherman Hemsley.
Yeah, Sherman Hemsley.
Sherman Hemsley. They favor. Yeah.
So it's a bunch. Here's another one that people may know about. They got Kevin Costner, movie actor, and Mark Harmon, another actor.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Man for Planet Risk, the master teacher gives many examples of those people. You see it?
Mm-hmm. All right, we have another question. Still from Mukdal Tat Maratat. It says, Rabat Muisar, how did we lose our 4 higher senses?
Because we are tied into the genetics of other beings, right? First, we have to understand this. What are the 4 higher senses for the people who don't know? So, us as the original people, if you ask any scientist or paleontologist who is the world's first people, don't even use the word race, because if you use the word race, they're going to give you an answer like, well, race is a social construct, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The world's first people is Africans. You understand? African people. So that means that these were the first or the original Homo sapiens, how they want to categorize humanoids today.
Mm-hmm.
So, the original Homo sapiens, or the original humans on this planet, are Africans, dark skin, ranging from dark skin to lighter complexion. Because we have a diversity of colors within the black race, and we've always had that. Of course, the black germ or the darker germ was original, the first one. Over time, through many mixing or clonings, right, different variations of us came about. So now, the original seed had not 5 senses, but 1 sense that became 9 sense, which is really 1 sense. And now people are like, what? So the 1 sense that we have is called perception, or the sense of touch, right? Because all your 5 senses that you have all relates to the sense of touch. Now we go through the 5 senses. You got the sense of what? Touch. Means to just touch something, right? Sense of what? Seeing.
Mm-hmm.
That means light particles have to touch your retina, right? The sense of hearing. Sound waves have to touch your eardrums, right? The sense of taste. Particles have to touch your taste bud.
Right.
And what's the last one?
Smell.
Smell. Particles have to touch your olfactory nerve in your nose for your smell. So that's all touch. And touch is nothing but perception. Now, the 4 higher senses are what? Telepathy,
Psychometry.
psychometry, clairvoyance, and intuition. So what are these? Psychometry, the ability to touch an object and know what the last person did with it. Our ancient ancestors was able to store information in objects. If they wanted to put knowledge in this bottle, they was able to touch it and put the information in and say, I'm gonna leave it there for a second. When I'm ready to go back to that thought that I want to remember, I can pick it up. They had a movie called, I think Anthony Hopkins was in it, something Red Dragon. There was a detective, he could go into a room and tell you what happened. He wasn't even there.
Right.
You understand? That's what psychometry is. That means to be able, or clairvoyance. That means to be able to, clairvoyance to be able to see in other dimensions. Psychometry is the ability to touch an object and know what happened with it, the last person who touched it. Intuition, we know what intuition is. Talk about it daily. That's that inner thing that person may feel is going on.
Yeah.
You know, we always say women intuition, but we know men have it too. And the other one is telepathy, the ability to communicate mind to mind. So now, why don't we have it? That's the question, right? The truth is, the remnants of it is still there. Why? Because we talk about, in our doctrine, or the way the master teacher taught us, he taught us that it was taken away from us at one point. And how it was taken away, he said, it was through certain experiments that certain beings was basically lobotomized, right? And certain portion of their brain was taken out. Well, the part of your brain that was connected, the part of your brain that dealt with your 4 higher senses was called the what? It was a portion of your cerebellum, and it was called the barotheric gland.
Barotheric gland.
And this barotheric gland, which scientists don't know about, we know about, that's our culture. So it was an aspect in your brain that was a portion of your cerebellum that was there, and that was to help you have your 4 higher senses.
Right.
Well, they took it out of certain beings in certain creation periods, right? We talk about the Nakaman Kadman, which was 1 black or 1 Sans woman and 1 Hindu man. These 2 was under a certain experiment, and since they was under a certain experiment to produce certain children in the future, some of their children, who we are tied into, right, was made, and that barotheric gland was taken out. And over time, all of us being children or descendants of them as well still, we are now lacking the physical structure of the barotheric gland, right? Now, how do you develop it? Or is it still there? Well, if you are, as a Nuwapian Sabian, you know that the physical is not the real aspect of you, right? The etheric you is the real aspect of you. So anything that's physical have an etheric counterpart.
Right.
So if they were to take and remove the barytheric gland itself, then on the etheric level, it's still there. The reason why they couldn't take, go as far of destroying it as they would is because they would have destroyed the human brain.
Right.
So people today still have what you call extrasensory perception because of portions of it that's on the cerebellum, where they get thoughts or they feel like this is going on, but they don't have a factual concept of it. It's just feelings. It's just thoughts. You understand? They can't factually say, no, I know this person did that. You can say it, but you look crazy if you can't prove it. Right?
Mm-hmm. By the
So-
accepted forms of proof. Right,
Yeah.
You're right.
So now, what you can do, we have a book called the Mind Book that the Master also put out. And he taught us in the Mind Book how to develop your higher senses. He taught you if you wanted to know how to do telepathy, you would have to learn how to concentrate. Because it takes concentration to send a powerful thought from your mind to another person's mind. Well, on social media and television, they do telepathy all day. How? When people indulge their mind on social media, eventually the thoughts of social media is now in their mind.
Yeah.
And they start talking to you as if it's their thoughts, when it wasn't their thoughts. They watch something, and now they want to talk about it because it was on the social media. And that's just the mechanical way of doing it. Now, we had a way where we can deliberately do it because we knew that thoughts have shape, size, and form.
Yep.
And we knew how to take a thought and send it to another individual, whether they was close to us or a million miles away. You know what I'm saying? We even knew how to heal people that was millions of miles away, or if they was close to us just by touch. Today they call it Reiki and all that type of stuff. But we actually knew how to do this in ancient time before the mixing and experiments that have been taken, that we've had to undergo in the time that we've been on the planet. And that should answer the question. Yes.
Is that, maybe the theory, is that by design they took it out in order so you can ascend better? Or, because it seems like that's like a cheat code, you might not be able to, like for us to still have that, you may not develop what you need to develop to the next level.
But one of the reasons from the old teaching, one of the reasons they took it is because they didn't want a certain class of beings to have that connection to the deities on high.
Yeah.
So it was a way for you to have a direct link to the overseers, where you can talk to them directly. Now you have to work. Go ahead.
They cut them from the plug.
So now you have to work your way back to that point. And in order to work your way back to that point, that's what all the information is for. But a lot of us get distracted just with the basic doctrine that make you sound heavy and don't get into the spiritual aspect of it.
But would the distraction be part of the lesson too?
Yeah, it's part of the lesson, because here's the thing. Everyone who talks about anything, right, they always tell you, if you talk to people who talk about success, they'll say, out of 100 people, only 5% would actually become successful. They'll say, out of 100 people, 5% will become successful. The other 95, they're not going to do it. So you could be a person who teach people, I'm going to teach you how to become a millionaire. You know how many people sell courses to become wealthy people? And 95% of the people that buy those courses never complete them. But the person who sold the course, they became a millionaire from it. Why? Because of human nature, they just don't, the average human don't want to execute anything. They want it to be given to them. So the same thing of connecting with our ancestors. The ancient ones know that only a selective few of us is going to actually make a connection.
But that's the lesson right there.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? You select yourself. You chose yourself. If you decide to say, I'm going to take the spiritual practice in this book and really apply it now. Because he said, Baba taught us that, he said, knowledge, he said, information only does one thing for you. Inform. It only informs you. That's it. So you could be a person who's inflated with knowledge. It doesn't mean nothing if you haven't go through a transformation. If that information hasn't transformed you into a deity, then it doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just knowledge. Anyone can have knowledge. Knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge can make you powerful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you find a lot of people on social media all over the world who have a lot of knowledge. But the question is, what are they doing? You can talk all you want, but what are you doing as an individual with all that knowledge you have? You know what I'm saying? That's why the devil will give people money and make them successful, right? And when they do that, you come as a person who kick knowledge, and a person is really looking how successful you are with that knowledge. And if you're not successful, I don't want to hear, I want to hear that ignorant dude, because he actually rich. And that's another way for the evil one to say, I'm going to deter you from real knowledge, because guess what? I'm giving people money. Easy to be stupid and kick this to y'all.
That's the visual, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those are the people that people look up to. Even conscious people look up to the ignorant people. Seriously, because they see where they at, they go, damn, this guy, man, she got Lamborghini. God damn, I got all this knowledge, I ain't got no Lambo yet. You know what I'm saying? They feel like that. So a person who kick knowledge and start looking successful with the knowledge, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And start making the knowledge, not only are you knowledgeable, but you're physically successful as well. When people think about the ancient Tamariyans, ancient Egyptians, for lack of a better words, they said these people was buried with their jewelry on. You know what I'm saying? What does that tell you? And also, they was able to build pyramids. Also, they was connected to the constellations. So, what that tell you about the ancient Egyptians, or the pre-dynastic Egyptians? They was balling, and they was spiritual. You know what I'm saying? They had their money, and they was doing their spiritual work at the same time. There wasn't no poor righteous teacher. That was not a concept for the ancient Egyptians. They was rich, righteous teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was connected spiritually, and in the physical life, they was living their best life at the same time. So it wasn't a whole thing of being poor. No, that wasn't an Egyptian concept. It was wealthy and still have a connection to the stars. And that's how we're supposed to be as well. We're supposed to be living good. We're not supposed to be at the bottom of the barrel and kicking the knowledge. Because if you're at the bottom of the barrel kicking this type of knowledge, like I said, people are going to judge your physical disposition and say, I don't want to listen to him because he's not successful. Yeah, he sounds good, but where's the success? You know what I'm saying? And if this information is what it is, because it is what it is, then we are supposed to be successful with the knowledge.
That's right.
Is anybody out there who's rich and famous? Are they doing it by themselves? No. They're doing it with a team. So if any of us in the culture was to become rich and famous, right, with the knowledge, we would have to do it as a team. You know what I'm saying?
You can't get 5 people to split up a light bill out here now.
Which is crazy. It's crazy. We have a couple more questions. From Zamal, Don Mary. He says, Rabat Zamal, when the Philadelphia project, the men who were moved up in time, did that put them in another or different zero-time reference? Also, by them jumping through time, was that vortex sealed since that occurrence?
According to that experiment,
Right.
you have to understand, if you go back to the sake of the man with planet risk,
Yeah.
they had no knowledge of the zero-time reference and how it would affect you going into the future, right? So since they had no knowledge of it, people's zero-time reference was still locked to the time stream that they came from. For instance, there's time, there's real time, and there's fake time, right? Or I should say set time. What I mean by that, right now on planet Earth, you ask a person what's the smallest unit of time, what they're going to tell you? Second. What number does the word second equate to? 2. How can 2 be the smallest unit of time? Right? So that's not the smallest unit of time, but that's what they're teaching people here. And that is fake time. Well, the Neteru, they knew about real time, the real existence that's encompass all things. And what they call it is now.
Right.
That's like my brother was talking earlier. Now to them, past, now in the past was then. Now in the future, that's then. And now is also then. All connected to now. You know what I'm saying? And it's all happening all at the same time. So he would say, time in the future is happening. Time in the past is still happening.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So the average human don't know that, because the average human don't truly comprehend time. They don't know what time is. They live by a circle and they equate time with a circle. At the same time, they tell you, we know the time by the sun. Yeah, the sun may be an orb, but that's not. It's not, time is not a circular thing. Time just is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it exists. And what men have done is numbered existence. into their own little systems that work for them and their businesses and things of that nature. That's why we have time zones that are set on the planet. But the time zones are set for a particular reason. It's set so planes don't crash into each other. You know what I'm saying? It's set so they can do their trading the way they choose to do their trading. You understand? Because they set their time by whose calendar? Gregorian. And since Pope Gregory, that's his calendar. Now the fact that you can call it a Gregorian calendar tells you one thing. What is telling you? That there had to be a calendar before Pope Gregory.
Right.
And there had to be an original calendar from the original people, which no one uses now. You understand? However, we in our culture, we have our own calendar. And again, many of us don't use it because our everyday life is still a part of the Gregorian culture. You understand? Because you could go by your calendar and say, what year are you in your calendar? In our calendar, we in the year, what? 6025. In their calendar, we in 2025. You go on the street and say, yo, we in the year 6000. We go, this nigga crazy. Because they believe in the Gregorian time. But go back to the brother question before the person's questions.
Yeah. So the first part of the question was where I think you answered that. Did they was that resetting when they went to that, put them in another different time, zero time reference?
Okay, so just to finish on that part. So those beings wasn't in a different zero time reference in that experiment. When you go into that experiment, you'll realize that, let's say when Duncan went to the future, he went 40 years in the future. This is an experiment that the Navy knows about, but they like to lie and debunk it. You know what I'm saying? It's called the Philadelphia experiment. They even made a movie on it, just to make you think it's even fake from that too. But it was really a real experiment where they wanted to transport the USS Eldridge from one destination to another. You know what I'm saying? So, what happened is, when they finally did it and was able to transport the ship from one place to another, the beings that went to the future, right? Because they didn't know about zero time reference, once they went to the future, their zero time reference was hit with so much energy that many of the people that was on that ship end up flickering in and out of existence when they went to the future. Because they was locked to a time stream, let's say in 1940, and now they was in the 1980s. They don't belong there. You know what I'm saying? Some people, when it got to 1980, right, they died. They manifested dead. Why? Because their zero time reference said, you're supposed to die at 60. Why are you here in the 80s?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They was dead on arrival when they got to that time stream. Duncan Bellick and his brother, Duncan Cameron, they was in the hull of the ship, so they wasn't affected. But later on, being in that time zone when they're not locked to that, when their time is not locked to that time stream, one of the brothers started flickering in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And he flickered all the way back to his original time stream that he's from. The other brother, what they did is they regressed him. Certain scientists in the future knew about age regression. So they regressed him and put his spirit in another baby who exists in that time stream. So that person exists today as I forgot his name, but he's on YouTube, old videos of YouTube where he's telling people literally who he is. And he's a part of the whole experiment, and people don't believe him. You know what I'm saying? He still exists, some old white man, right? If he's not dead yet.
Right.
But that's the whole thing. So you can't in that experiment they didn't know about zero time reference and how to give you a new one in a different time stream. They didn't know nothing about that. So since they didn't know nothing about that, like I said, people died, and some people was even stuck in the ship. Because remember, energy, you and me in this podium is the same thing. Even though I'm biological, we still made of matter. So if I start flickering out of existence because I'm in a different time zone, I could go through it. And then at some point, I become physical again. This wood is now in my body. So some of the beings also died because of that. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things they didn't understand in that experiment. They didn't understand. Yeah.
I heard they also they take you out of it's to also take you out of alignment with the real time with this particular calendar. Because I think Caesar and Augustus, they added August and they added July at some point. And if you think about October, it's supposed to be 8, but it's not 8. But the point is to take you out of your natural alignment with these particular dates.
It's called the cloak of destiny. They know the cloak of our destiny, So to keep us off of time, they changed the time and shifted and put it into not the first time, because the first time is the ancient Kemites' time. The second time is the Caucasians' time. And him making us be under his time makes us miss things. Like, for instance, the master teacher say, year such and such, 2003, this is going to happen. It may not happen exactly because of how their calendar is set up. You know what I'm saying? It may happen around that time, but their time system is so out of whack with real natural time that you will miss that ship. You know what I'm saying? So a person who, and even when the master tells us those dates, you gotta be honest and really know that those are not the real dates. You know what I'm saying? Because who's listening when he tells us the dates? Them. It's not for them. If a ship or a craft was to come and get us as a people, those only Nawapians, not other people outside, right? Sabians. If it was for us, we're not gonna put the date out. We'll put a fluff here. Here's the date. You know what I'm saying? That's not gonna be the real date because it's not for them. Another part of this question?
The second part, he says, also, by them jumping through time, was that vortex that they jumped through, was that sealed since that occurrence, since it happened?
According to the book, yeah. If you go back to the Man's for Planet Riz, it talked about how Bellic and his brother, they went, one of them went through and they was kidnapped by extraterrestrials. And extraterrestrials wanted them to go and get something for them in order for them to make them be on their journey. And I think they went to get the thing.
Whatever that was, they wanted,
Yeah.
Do you think that because certain groups of people know the situation of Earth and people on Earth, they're trying to escape their destiny, like by trying to leap through time and create these technologies because they know what's coming, and maybe they're trying to change what's supposed to happen? That's
exactly what certain beings are trying to do. Change things. And that has always been the way of many disagreeable beings. When you go to ancient Sumerian records, you find out that there was a thing called the Akasha records. And it was in the possession of a being, an Anunnaki called Enlil. But the person who guards his chamber, his name was Zuen. And Zuen purposely took the tablets of destiny, right? And he took them just to alter time. Now, many of the people of today are descendants of Zuen, not even realizing. And Zuen is who they call Nanar, you know what I'm saying? Nanasin in Sumerian culture. Many beings today are descendants of those beings, and they're doing the same thing. They thinking they're doing something new when they're not. They're doing the same thing that their ancestors did. And sometimes they don't even know why they're doing it. When they do atom smashing, and they have the Hadron Collider, that is a way of ripping space-time to go through other dimensions. Now, when they first started doing it, they don't know that. You know what I'm saying? But when the moment it happens, like, oh, you opening vortexes. Sometimes they get telepathically talked to by extraterrestrials that's on a certain density level. And they want them to open it. Why? So they can come through. Because sometimes some extraterrestrials can't just come here just like that. Because some are physical, just like us. And they need, but they're right next door. When I say next door, just in another dimension. On Earth, we're talking about, we know about 1, 2, and 3 dimension. You have the 4th dimension that's right next to us. Now, I put a video out one time just explaining how the psychology behind dimensions. Let's say if you was let's say a 2-dimensional being, right? A 2-dimension being is what? It's a flat surface. And that type of flat surface being, we know that there's no flat surface being, but just give an example. If a being existed and it was flat, how do they travel? How do they move? What is their perception? If you could go into the mindset of being on a piece of paper that's flat, you know that you can't do much. And if you saw something in a 3rd dimension laying flat on that paper, that 3rd dimension would look like a what? An orb to you. Because it would have length, width, height, you know what I'm saying? All that. Where you as a 2-dimensional being don't have that. You only have length and width, and you're flat. So if you saw somebody from a 3rd dimension, they look totally different. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. And if it just comes into existence and pop out, you're like, yo, in their mind, that's a spacecraft. Now, if you're a third dimensional being, it's the same thing. You're a third dimensional being, and a person is from the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension is a higher dimension than the third dimension. If a person was to come into this dimension, you wouldn't understand the things that they know about their world. They would know about your world. Because just like we, as a three-dimensional being, know about two dimension, and we also know about one dimension. So a higher dimensional being know about the lower dimensional beings.
Right.
But the lower dimensional beings don't know about them. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about the knowledge you have.
Right. We have another question from Mukhtar Arthur Abrams. He says, Rabat Musa Ashok, when the master teacher said, move above the Mason-Dixon line, what places was he referring to?
If you Google any map, right? Mason-Dixon was where they drew a line to say these are the slave states that's below, and these are the free states that's above. So you could Google anything right now, just put Mason-Dixon line. Anything that's above the Mason-Dixon, that's what the master teacher was trying to say, go live at. Anything below it, he was like, get away from it. And that was that.
All right. So we have another question from Mukhtar Maratat. She's asking, was the Philadelphia experiment, was that the first experiment?
That is not the first experiment that they did. That was the last name, because it had other names. You know what I'm saying? The Man Planet Risk gives you the other names of the project. I think it was the Manhattan Project or Phoenix Project. They had other names prior, before it became known as the Philadelphia experiment, because it originally was taking place, I believe, in Chicago, and then it transferred to Philadelphia.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a different name before it became Philadelphia experiment, but it was still all connected and still using great scientists at those times. Unfortunately, it was Caucasians. Von Neumann was one. Albert Einstein, he wasn't a part of the experiment, but they did use his theories in order to make the jump.
All right, there's nothing else online at the moment.
Oh, Tesla too. Tesla was a part of it.
Yeah.
Of his experiment.
Tesla, yeah.
Tesla, Nikola Tesla is one of those scientists, and we gotta make it clear. Nikola Tesla is not a white man. He's a Dravidian. Right? Because they like to take claim of him. He's a Dravidian. He's a Hindu. You know what I'm saying? From another, where they from?
Was it Procyon? No.
I forgot the exact planet he's from, but he's not from here. And many scientists who were like Nikola Tesla is not from here. You know what I'm saying? And what happened is Nikola Tesla is the reason why they had what's called a zero generator. They had a zero reference generator.
Right.
He the one who knew about it. That was locked to Earth zero biorhythm. Now the average person don't know nothing about Earth's biorhythm. They don't care about Earth's biorhythm. He knew about it back then in the 1940s.
Before the
40s. You know what I'm saying? He knew about it back then. His dub is called Ed Lee Skowden. If you study Ed Lee Skowden, that is a dub of Nikola Tesla, meaning a clone, right? Just one copy. And they did similar things, meaning if you study Ed Lee Skowden and the Coral Reef Castle, you find that he knew about levitation. He knew about the science of the pyramids because he had doors on his land that a baby could push, and the door could weigh tons, and a baby could go up to it and push it, and the door will move. You know what I'm saying? So he had the science of levitation. He knew about it. The same science that the ancient Egyptians used to build the pyramids. Science of levitation, to be able to take stones that weigh tons and move them from one place to another, move from one level onto another level, onto another level. This was all science. The ancient Egyptians were scientists who built those pyramids. And they did have help from their ancestors from the stars. You know what I'm saying? So.
Ed Lee Scallion?
Huh? Ed Lee Scallion.
He was one of them.
Did you ever hear the story about Baron Trump?
Baron Trump?
Tesla? So apparently, a member of Trump's family back in the day, there's a book that's out. It's called, and it has some with Baron Trump in it. But anyway, I don't know if it was Trump's grandfather, great grandfather, one of them.
Oh, that bought all the patents of Tesla?
Yeah, when they came in and took all Tesla stuff, I think they said they only found half of the stuff. They only said, oh yeah, this is what we found, but what they claimed that they didn't give up to the government was they found like a ray gun and a time machine. Apparently, I guess Trump's family or group, they have some of those technologies, and then it's funny now that when you see some of his sons, they're wondering like, okay, did they time travel or but it's a book that was printed in like the 1890s, whatever. It's a very old book that is talking about what's going on now and has Trump in it, so it's crazy. That is.
Nikola Tesla, he was a great physicist and electrical genius, right?
Edison's the one, well, he took all the stuff. And
he's the reason why the electricity system that we have today. Because remember, people know about Tom Edison, right?
Right.
Thomas Edison. And what happened is they was in conflict with each other. First they was friends.
Yeah.
Tesla went to a time where he didn't have no money. He started working for Thomas Edison.
Yeah, JP. Yeah.
Oh, JP Morgan.
JP, they was funding them, and then when I guess he tried to tell me when he found out he had free energy, they was like,
nah,
we can't let this go through because they'll come after me, basically.
Exactly.
They want to monetize it.
Because Tesla was all about.
They shut him down.
Tesla knew about free energy, and him knowing about free energy, he wanted to give free energy to the whole planet.
Yeah.
Point blank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these guys were more businessmen. JP Morgan is a businessman. He's not trying to give free energy. Come on. You know how much money in Jersey PSE&G makes? You know how much money in New York Con Edison makes?
You know those families, those big families is not.
Oh yeah, Venetian.
Yeah. I just read yeah. So yeah.
Tesla, like I said, he was an electrical genius and physicist at the time, and he's one of those examples as well where a lot of technology today is because of him, right? And they don't talk about him. The same reason where we could say a lot of teachers out there that you know on social media are students of Dr. York, but they don't talk about him. You know what I'm saying? Tesla brought the concept up of alternate circuits. Edison was like direct current, right? Today, what do we use? Alternate currents, not direct. But back then, Edison was always bashing alternate because he knew that he was doing direct, and he was giving all type of debates to show how alternate currents is more dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, they still use Tesla's joint, but then you know nothing about Tesla. You go to school. I don't care if you go to a physicist course. Tesla's not in the books. Right. Einstein is in the books, and him and Tesla was in conflict with each other as well. Because Tesla used to tell him, your concept of certain stuff is wrong.
It's wrong.
You know what I'm saying? But because Einstein was a part of their little game of physicists that they wanted to be known and black out Tesla, they make Einstein a big man. Created the co-concept E equals MC squared concept. He didn't create that. That's a natural law in nature.
Is that a limited theory? Or did they say somebody actually? I don't know.
They said they have rumors that his wife gave it to him. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who gave him. Yeah. That's a natural law of nature, regardless. That's why physicists will tell you many things that physicists talk about and they give you formulas for, and they'll say, you'll talk to a person like, say, Neil deGrasse Tyson, black physicist. He will say that if they do encounter people from another dimension, they know that the laws of physics that they have now, they will still be relative to those beings, right? The reason why is because it's not the laws of physics. It's just the laws of nature. You know what I'm saying? Energy, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times, what's that? Acceleration?
Yeah.
Right? Einstein concept. This concept is not something he made up. It's just something that's a part of nature. You know what I'm saying? But they give terms of it. What they like to do is name things, and they like to name it after themselves a lot of times. Like we think about anything you could think of in science, they always name it after one of them. And where they got that concept from? They got it from the ancients who always name stuff after themselves. You know what I'm saying? Even the days of the week, they name it after themselves. When you say Thursday, you're saying 4-day. You know what I'm saying? When you say Wednesday, you're saying Woden Day. You're just the short version of the Norse gods that we watch in movies and thinking we watching a movie, not knowing that we chanting their made up deities every day of the week. You know what I'm saying? And just like the calendar, Julius Caesar, July, gave July for himself. Augustus gave that month for himself.
It basically remixed it.
Exactly.
In their image. So basically, we look psychology. It's crazy.
And then they took it all the way to God and gave you Jesus. And he's a white man.
Right.
He's not. They saw her and said, "Her, Blessed Mother Isis, Asset, nah. It's gonna be Jesus and the Blessed Mother Mary, and they're gonna be white. That's what it's gonna be." And all they did is keep remixing our culture and giving it to people, giving it to our people, and our people are accepting it because the resemblance and intonation of certain names and certain concepts is in our DNA. So when people hear the Virgin Mary, in their DNA they like Isis, but they don't hear it. They don't remember that. You know what I'm saying? Because only she has a story that's like that, where her husband was dead and she had a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jesus. People love that concept. That's hard. There was a person, a Messiah type in ancient Egypt called Har. There was a Messiah type in ancient Sumer called Tammuz. There was a Messiah type in ancient Hindi culture called Hare Krishna. You know what I'm saying? These are all the same, not the same beings, but they all have the similar positions in their culture. And then what they did, gave us a remix in America or abroad, which is the European version of the Jesus, Mary, the whitewash version, which doesn't exist. But that's the hardest thing to tell someone who was born religious or born into a household where the
It's
family was
difficult.
religious.
Very difficult.
Well, they did an experiment that shows that, especially with kids,
Yeah,
you see
definitely
stuff in
that.
their image
That's how you break
makes
it
them more
down.
confident, more successful versus
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at another culture, their image, or
Yeah.
So
Yep, and that psychology is being played on us every day. They got our people to the point where we would prefer to worship something that don't look like us and think nothing of it. We don't feel no way about it. And the second you become the person to point it out, your family member who's under that mental hypnotic spell,
either
Yeah.
everyone or
you're the devil.
Yeah, there's something.
That white
You
man
went
is
straight to the
Jesus.
devil, right?
You know what I'm saying? That's the Lord and Savior right there. He died for our sins.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
How dare
The
you.
sins that people still commit.
Exactly.
So, and that's a part of the spell. That's one of the reasons that we're out here trying to break the spell. And religion is one of the biggest spells that has to be trampled on. Because what happened is, when you think about religion, the real tool of religion is to what? They're already going to conquer you in the scientific field. Because they're going to name everything after themselves and make sure all the top scientists are them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to dominate you in the success, talking about money, finances. White people dominate in finances. I don't care how many little of us that you see us coming up now, but they still been dominating it. And they made sure they systematically dominated. Because if you go back to say, let's go back to the 40s. Today, when we talk about welfare, who's the poster child for welfare today?
Black people.
Black people. But who was welfare originally for?
Picasso.
White people.
Mm-hmm.
It was for them.
That's a great
You
example.
understand what I'm saying?
Even with the NBA gambling situation, it's many names on there. You know, the mafia and everything, but the two folks that they're posterizing is the
It's the
brothers
God.
that did. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the same playbook.
And going back to the welfare concept, welfare back then was giving them money to benefit. It wasn't until the 1960s that they allowed African Americans to be on welfare. It was not for us. They was like, in the 40s and the 30s, help your goddamn self, black people. But we're going to give our people money. We're going to give them food stamps. And make sure they good. On real estate, FHA loans and all that crap, look them up historically.
Yeah.
They was never giving black people loans to get a property. But they made sure white people had loans to get a property since back then. You know what I'm saying? That's where the whole concept of redlining come in. Because they knew that once you have property, you got money. Why? Because property appreciates. So you could buy this property for $100,000.
Right.
2-3 years from now, it's $190,000. You could refinance and take that $90,000 and buy you another one. They was doing this way before we had access to get a mortgage. So they was rich way before we started becoming rich. So when you start hearing about Madam C.J. Walker being rich, or any one of our black people back then, they had to really work hard to get it to that level. Because they had a head start on finances, on resources, on science, on education, on everything. You know what I'm saying? Before they let us in the door. And when they started letting us in the door, by that time, they not messing with it no more.
Yeah, you got the strap. It's like you got the straps.
Like, oh yeah. Yes, this is for y'all.
Race, ain't called race for nothing. It started way before.
If you get the building, but the building's already 80 years old, it's like, all right, now you gotta get the repairs done, and you gotta get
All
the
of
stuff
that.
done.
It was a time they was buying properties when the joint was $1. Seriously. They was able to buy big buildings that's now in Manhattan that is renting crazy. You know what I'm saying? They was getting it when it was $1. They was literally leaving them and left them and don't do nothing with them. Let it appreciate over time. Not even fixing it. Just when that era came, when it was like, what's the era? How much is it worth now? 15 mil? Fix it up now.
Just fix it up. Yeah.
And rent that joint out.
They had the red line of documents. They said that they were giving certain groups pennies off the dollar for developments and homes, basically free. But in the clause, it also said, "But you can't sell to us." That was in the paperwork. It's like, we're gonna give you this, but you can't sell to.
Even when they.
This is like New York, man. You know, the whole area.
Even when they wanted us to be in the military, and we joined the military, and we got a GI Bill. The GI Bill wasn't for black people. It was only for the white veterans. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do your research. So that even means that even white guys who came from the war, they got money to buy property. The black ones, fend for yourself. Thank you for fighting the war for us. Even this concept, declaration of who they said free the slaves.
Lincoln.
Because of what's the bill he put out? Emancipation Proclamation. Do you know that black people who was kidnappees because we wasn't slaves,
Right.
we was freeing ourselves before the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah.
Go and do the research. The only reason that document was put out because Lincoln was a racist just like his fellow presidents. He didn't care nothing about no black people. The only reason that document was put there to get black people to what? Enlist in the war to fight the South.
In D.C.
To save what? The Union.
Yeah. In D.C. and some of the swamp jungle, black folks were already living there. And it was at war with them. They went to them to help them. Volunteer to help them.
But in their education system, they'll never teach you about the blacks who was free before the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yeah, that's not in there.
It's not. They're not going to teach you that. They was free already. They was freeing themselves, kicking their master's ass, going to the north, and thousands going to the north, and they couldn't stop. You know what I'm saying? All these movies that they put out every year to make us look like we some punks in slavery, that was not all of us. That was a small group of. You think the way black people are today, you really think we was just some punks like that? No, they was doing so many things to keep us a certain way, murdering us. In fact, when you look at black people in the whole, under what they call the slave trade, that was really what they should call it is human trafficking.
Well, that's what it was.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't call it that.
They call it.
No.
And the reason why I don't call it human trafficking is because that's an international crime. But if you call it slavery, guess what? That was legal.
That's right.
But
So
even,
as long as
that was a trick because there were there are already black folks here, like the Seminoles and
Of course.
the Native Americans, they're black. So they'll say, I remember it's in the archives. If you look too dark, they reclass you as
Negro.
They'll say Negroid. Then they'll go to color. Then they'll go to this. Or if you were a certain complexion, they're like, okay. Or if you mixed in, okay, you're Native American, and they'll give you profits or they'll give you benefits to the land.
And then a lot of Europeans started mixing in with the tribes as well.
Yeah.
And became chiefs of those tribes.
Yeah, because now like, okay, you really do have claim to the land. This is really your land. Because just the logistics of bringing so many people over, you gotta feed them this, you on a wooden ship, people half the stock would die. I don't call it stock, but
That's why.
from a logistics standpoint, it never made any sense.
That's why we teach that was a lie. There was no slave ship that stacked us on top of each other. That's a myth.
Yeah, like
They show us movies where we stacked on top of each other, defecating, throwing up.
yeah,
The whole cargo would have died.
exactly.
The whole cargo.
Doesn't make any
So
sense.
they was using black people that was already here.
Exactly.
The indigenous people that was here. And they got this new campaign going on. You probably see it on social media, a lot of AI crap. When they got all our children, the American Indians, out there trying to play us. Because we say we the natives here. Because they think, they really believe that they the native. Listen, you are not native to nothing if you mix. You heard what I just said? You a mixed seed. It's obvious you got Asian in you. You know what I'm saying? And some other, you have some black in you too, but you got some Asian in you. There's a lot of Asian. That hair,
That hair,
your hair alone tells me you're not original. Anyone who got straight hair,
It's not.
I should say straight fur, is not original. Nappy hair is original. That's a scientific fact. Because guess what? We will say that humans come from, well, let's say scientists. Scientists will teach that humans come from primates, right? Or homonyms, right? But ask yourself this question. Do homonyms have fur or do they have hair? Homonyms is, think about it. A homonym is an ape. You know what I'm saying? But they try to say prehistoric humans are homonyms, right? These are apes. Now, apes do not have hair
That's right.
as opposed to fur. They have fur. You know what I'm saying? Africans are the only people who have hair on this planet.
On the planet.
Everybody else have fur. Now, Homo sapiens, you gotta ask yourself, if we are the original Homo sapiens, how did we get our hair? Because once again, our hair is the most different thing from every other people on the planet. That's our signature to say, yo, you African, right? Because your hair texture. Because all scientists will say humans come from primates. And we'll say, no, not us. Because we're not from no animal stock like that. If you want to compare us to an animal stock, we more say, equate us to the reptilians. You know what I'm saying? Not no monkeys. You know what I'm saying? Monkeys, that's Caucasians. That's Mongoloids. That's Dravidians. That's not us. You know what I'm saying? Because all of them have the same fur as their predecessors, the apes. You know what I'm saying? Why this was called the planet of the ape at one time.
Ouch.
You know what I'm saying? We only got that in our blood today because of mixing. Through the kidnapping or the human trafficking, falsely called slavery, they was raping our women, raping our men, mixing in with us. And when they started mixing in with us, we started creating so many different variations of black people. Some that look cool, some that look Spanish, some that look Italian, some that look whatever. The Moors went to Spain. They took those white women and made them what we call Italians today, which is also children of black people. You know what I'm saying? So we went all over the planet and, mixed in with fellow humans that was on the planet. You know what I'm saying? And we have to get this in our head too. If black people are the first world people, which they are, where did other races come from? Now, what they'll tell you this lie. Well, when you're in a certain atmosphere for a long time, the climate makes your skin whiter.
Right.
The climate makes your hair texture change. No, it doesn't. Because it is black people that lived in Europe all their life.
Still black.
They still got Africa. What are we talking about? But they would teach this crap in their education system. And people believe it because they don't want to talk about the fact that humans on this planet is a product of extraterrestrials. You know what I'm saying? That means they were seeded on the planet. Some extraterrestrials are over the Mongoloids. Some extraterrestrials are over the Africans. Some extraterrestrials are over the Caucasians. That's where they get their looks from. Because they don't get it from us. Right? They don't get their features from us because on a phenotypical feature-wise, I'm talking about the structure of our face. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. You know what I'm saying? Unless they have some of our genes. But it's not the same. The structure of our hair follicles is not the same. And the weather is not going to change the structure of your face. It's not going to change the texture of your hair. It's not going to happen. You need some relaxant for that. And that's temporary. You know what I'm saying? So how did we produce races of people who have fur? Races of people with different structures of facial structures. Where did that come from? And why is American Indians saying they native and they mix? If you mix, you're not native to nothing. That's like me. That's like having a mutt. Is a mutt native to anything?
Nope.
No, a mutt is a mixture of, take a mule. A mule is not original. You have to take a donkey and a horse to make that thing. So when a person is mixed talking about they native, that's a damn joke. You a mutt. And guess what? A lot of us blacks are mutts today too. But we're the closest to the indigenous people. You know what I'm saying? The original people, the original seed on planet Earth. And our hair texture is proof of that. Because the one thing you can't get rid of with us is the hair. Even though some of us now have wavy hair, that's black. Some of us have ether hair, that's black. But we was taught that it took 17,250,000 years for our hair to unkink. You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about so much mixing that happened on this planet from who? Different extraterrestrials that was coming here and mixing it with the original seed that was on this planet to make other people that we call races now. You know what I'm saying? So us being a root, our children, the Dravidians, the second, the Mongoloids come after, and the Caucasians is after that, and everybody else is our children. They're all mixtures of those races right there. Or, I'm not going to use race, they're all mixtures of those people. Because I don't want no one's a race of social construct bullcrap. You know what I'm saying? Those people are the root, and everybody else are subspecies of them. You know what I'm saying? So if you're Arab, you're a subspecies. You're a mixture of Hindu and black people. You know what I'm saying? Those are your Arabs. And then some of them are straight up white people. You know what I'm saying? Because they like to make you think that they're not white. No, a lot of them are white. People who call themselves Arabs, they're white people. And these dudes allow them to be in our stores and to mingle with us on such a level like we're the same people. We're not the same. Because at the end of the day, when they talk to their parents, they're telling their children, don't mix with you. Even though those Arab men are mixing with these black women. Because our women are so low on a scale of self-respect that they will sleep with one of those animals. You know what I'm saying? It's just sad. You know what I'm saying?
It is what it is.
In our ancient culture, our women in our ancient time, our women was very particular. They was not like the women of today. They was not moved by your damn money. They was all about their genetics. Genetics and protecting the seed. Our women took a vow of chastity in our ancient culture. And that meant that, what's the vow of chastity? That meant that she would only mess with a Negroid man, right? And the Negroid man that she choose will be the only man that she ever messed with.
Yep.
Our women had too much damn pride to be like, I'm gonna have 2 or 3 baby fathers. You crazy? That was never in our DNA.
I think this culture definitely has destroyed that dynamic.
Of course.
Because, you know, when so many, when women attach themselves to so many different men, that energy, you get what I'm saying? Instead of just being with one, now you're in comparisons, and then that's what this particular culture teaches. Like, okay, just keep moving around, and then
and that's all to what? All that is to what? Deaden the seed of the deities. You deaden the seed of the deities with all of those genetics in you. You know what I'm saying? The woman is the record keeper.
Right.
She overstood that in ancient times. So she knew that she carried the mitochondrial DNA and to protect her family bloodline.
Right.
They teach you in their culture, they say, without a son, your family name is gone. What is a name? Without a daughter, your DNA is gone. You know what I'm saying? So we in our culture, we like, we need a daughter. We have to make sure we have daughters, because your daughters have the family genes that's undiluted from the male gene. You know what I'm saying? That have the family lineage that's undiluted with the nuclear DNA. So we overstood that. So since we overstood that and our women understood that, they knew they wanted to protect the family jewels, which is the genetics of that family. You know what I'm saying? And they had pride, and they also had shame. People don't have shame today. That's why people could mess with this person, jump from this person to that person to this. They're a bunch of kangaroos.
If you look at the other cultures, they won't even shake your hand. A female won't even shake your hand. Like, nah, we can't do that. Respectfully, too. They're like, sorry, we can't do that. And when you see that, you gotta respect them. Like, you know what? I hear that. I like that, because it's like, yo, the discipline that you see.
So Wu-Sabat is supposed to implement all that stuff back into our people, back into the men to be upright men, back into the women to be chaste women. You know what I'm saying? And if you are not a chaste woman, teach your daughter to be a chaste woman. know what I'm saying? That means be careful of the things that you do in front of those children. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Your children listen to you, but they're really not listening to you.
Right.
They really watching what you do. Son, don't smoke. It's not good for you, son. That kid's gonna be smoking. They're like,
what's the thing they say? Don't do as I do, or
Don't do that.
They come out with their own.
they're like, yo, don't drink this liquor when you get older.
Yeah, it ain't good.
What?
Right.
That kid is looking like, wait, he's sleeping. I'm gonna go and drink that liquor.
I want to taste it. Yeah, that's right.
Because they're trying to be like you, so.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have to get, this culture is to get us back to that level of deity. And because we have so much bad habits, we have to start building good habits. And the culture is supposed to be a thing to discipline you. But it can't discipline you alone. You have to read it and then discipline yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That means you read it and it says, I shouldn't do that. Now you're supposed to say, do I really stand for this? If you really stand for it on a soulful level, then you discipline yourself. You know what I'm saying? You make yourself accountable. You know what I'm saying? To say, you know what? I know what's right and exact, and since I know what's right, I'm going to do it because it's right. Most of us don't do that. We fall back into the habits, the bad habits that we had before we read these books. Some of us was born knowing in the information, meaning they was born into the culture, so it's different for them. But those of us who was not born into the culture, and we just came on it, and we said we read the books, and the books tell you to be a certain way, is upon you to make the change for yourself.
Right.
And that becomes the hardest thing because people don't realize the biggest enemy they have is themselves.
Whole time. Whole time.
Any questions?
No, no questions online.
So I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing. Yeah, it's supposed to take us back to that pristine state that we was. That's what Wu-Sabat was all about. And that also means that I heard Bob on the audio say, when he come out, he gonna enforce the culture. That's something we supposed to be doing right now.
Exactly.
Enforce it on yourself. Enforce it on your children. Enforce it on your husband. Enforce it on your wife. Listen, if you don't want to live up to the culture, leave. It's that simple. And don't straddle the fence. Don't be doing your whole stuff as a man or woman.
Right.
And then come dress up here when it's an event. Stop. Wear your worldly clothes and go and stay out there. Hey, I encourage you to go to church because that's the type of people that's in there. Go to the mosque. That's the type of people that's in there. You know what I'm saying? But don't claim this. Because what's the point of claiming something so pure and be so impure? Not even try to be on the path of doing the right thing. You make excuses to do the wrong thing. And BABAH, as a teacher, he do this thing that many teachers do. And what he does is this. I heard a Chinese philosopher. He was talking to his students, right? And he's like, life is a river. He's telling his students this. He's like, life is a river. So the word goes from one student to the next. Life is a river. Life is a river. Life is a river. Life is a river. Then it gets to one student. The student's like, but why is life a river? And then it got back to the master. And he was like, well, life is not a river. The point I'm trying to make is sometimes the master tell you something, and if you don't accept it, right, he tell you something else that you accept. So he may say, in our culture, let's be real, a person who's a hard, staunch Sabian, when it comes to your diet, do you really eat meat?
Nope. No.
Hello?
No.
If you're a hard, staunch Sabian, do you eat meat according to our culture? Because we have a saying that says, we don't eat that which has parents. So if you eat chicken and fish, then you're not following that precept, right or wrong?
That's right.
And we have so many things that's fall into that same category. He give you two. So the next answer would be like this. You know what? You can eat whatever you want. Just stay away from that red meat. That's the master going, you ain't ready for it. So just stay away from red meat. You know what I'm saying? So that you don't go crazy off of food. You know what I'm saying? Because you become a liar now. You come to events, you see that chicken, you know you want that chicken, right? And you're like, no, I only eat things that doesn't have parents.
Right.
Then you go home and you kill yourself. You want that chicken?
That I missed, I'm making it tonight.
Might as well eat what you want to eat. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, as a master, he goes, eat what you want to eat, man. just don't take it to this level. Red meat is worse than that chicken and that fish. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you may see us have events and we just have all that for people. Because we know we don't want you to go to hell for chicken. Come on, that's dumb. Just eat it. That's what you want to do. Do you? You know what I'm saying? And we ain't judge you either.
That's right.
That's on you. It's not on nobody else.
It's also probably a way to people have different levels, I guess, so kind of like eventually people will get to that. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
So I get
Yes.
that. I get that idea. Quick question with that, the parents thing. Will plants have parents? I don't know.
See, that's a chicken eater question. I'm sorry.
Because you said parents, but
you're right.
more, I think like
Right.
When he gave that explanation, he was really only talking about animals. We know that plants have parents,
Yeah.
but we talking about flesh when he talking about
Right.
that. Talking about animal flesh.
Gotcha. Specifically, gotcha.
Yeah, specifically animal flesh.
All right, we have a question. We have another question from Mukdal, Arthur Abrams. What does it mean to not eat food with parents? Can you put out a chart
Chicken eaters.
with it on it? Is there a scroll that speaks on it?
There's no scroll.
No.
One thing Baba said about food, he put this in the old scroll. It's called Purity and Neatness.
Yeah.
I believe. He said, I'm not going to teach y'all about food. I'm not going to tell y'all what to eat.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's not going to do it because he know one thing for sure, you're not going to do it. You're not going to follow it. So he didn't put no books out on food. You know what I'm saying? He do tell us things. He do give us updates and say, hey, don't eat things that have parents. Or this is good for you. Or this is good for you. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you have to make that decision for yourself. You know what I'm saying? When we say don't eat things that have animals, when we say don't eat that which have parents, we're talking about animals. So realistically, any animal you know that produce an offspring, us in the ancient time, we wouldn't eat it. That's all he's trying to say. He's like trying to say, get back to that. Get back to eating greens. Because greens is the original food for us as a people. Our teeth is made in ways where it's made for mashing vegetables, literally.
Right.
We developed canine teeth over the years for mixing.
Does that include byproducts? Because I had an uncle, he didn't eat honey because it came from bees. I guess he had his own thing, philosophy or whatever. But does that coincide with what you?
Nah,
or is it just
we would use honey. Honey is a good thing because bees. We have doctrine on bees. The bees was made by the Netzeru to produce honey for humans. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's their job. So even though if you know the process, we have in the Holy Tablet, there's a process of how the bee makes the honey.
Yeah.
Going from tree to tree, mixing up the ingredients, chewing it up. Bees have multiple stomachs, and one of their stomachs, they actually integrate in all those flowers that they extracted, and then eventually they bring it up, and that becomes the honey.
I think that's probably what it was, the organization.
Right.
But I don't know what his deeper.
So honey is a good thing, even if you're fasting. If you want to fast, and say you want to liquid fast, and you don't want to get hungry, it's cool. It's good to do this. Get some water, put some honey in it,
Make some honey with
and
it.
you won't be hungry. You know what I'm saying? So honey has many good properties in it that can help the human body, and that's different from that's totally different from the concept of eating, because we're not eating the bees' babies. You know what I'm saying? Or the bees themselves, right? We're eating something that they produce.
Right.
They produce this naturally for humans. Many of the insects had a job on this planet. We had insects in Africa too, who was to protect us from outsiders. So some people would catch malaria, right? And we had certain insects that would make sure certain people that wasn't African can't come into Africa. Because those insects would attack them and give them diseases. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the Africans that lived there, they wasn't catching none of that. You know what I'm saying? So insects had a part to play. That's why you have the scarab beetle in ancient Egypt. That's the insect. And that was symbolic of what? Khafre, right? Or an incarnation of Ray that what? Ray rolls his own dung, meaning, and that was symbolic of what? The transitional stages that Ray go through, or the sun, from a mun, a tun, you know what I'm saying? So we use animals as symbolic things, symbolic rituals, even the masks that you see people, the ancient masters wear, the deities wear, they all were symbolic of something. You know what I'm saying? So, and then that concept got stolen by the Europeans, and it became school mascots. Because you notice all the schools in colleges, they have mascots. Many of them are animals. And it's a history behind why they choose that. They got it from ancient Egypt. It's the same concept of us wearing masks. Sometimes people who don't know much about Egypt, they'll make the deities as if that mask is not a mask. Like it's their actual face. Oh, so he's a man with a bird face.
With a bird head.
Come on, man.
Fancy.
They have people like that. It's people who have alkaline features. Alkaline means bird features. But that's not what Tahuti is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, everything that people learn today, they got it from our culture. Without ancient Kemetic or Egyptian culture, this world would not be the way it was. It would be the way it was when we encountered the Europeans before they encountered us. No sewage system for using the bathroom, just throw it out the window. That's how they used to live. No soap, hey, there's no soap. We created all that, spices and all that. You know what I'm saying? Us in South Arabia, there was a whole spice trade with the Queen of Sheba. You know what I'm saying? We have everything before they even existed. You know what I'm saying? So, we the mothers and fathers of everybody on the planet that had things way before they had it. And these people don't want to pay homage to us. But we're okay with that. We don't want them to.
Right.
We just want them to leave us alone. Eventually, just leave us alone. And eventually it's going to come a time where they're going to be like, I think the master said, they're going to be like, where the Nuwapians at? Because we're going to vanish too. Because it's going to come a time where we're just not going to be here no more.
Well, I think that's why, low key, I think there's a campaign for mixing. Because before, it was, especially in America, you didn't want to see, they made it very racial, but now everything is mix this and mix that. But I think it's, I guess so they can last longer because it's like they know like where this is going on a genetic level. So I think, you'll have certain folks going to Africa and then they're grabbing these men and they're doing it for breeding purposes.
Yeah.
So,
I saw a European woman online, and they asked her a question about mixing, and she literally said she wanted to mix with Africans because of the melanin protected from the sun.
Oh, wow.
She straight up said it. Because if you're born on the planet and you're originally from this planet, as you believe, right? Why you can't live under the sun?
Vampire life.
Vamp life. That's real vamp life.
For sure.
So, you got anything else online?
No, it's nothing online.
I'm gonna close out.
Okay.
No more questions. We're gonna close out. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for the family online. Ask my brother Sobek to come up here so we can close out.
Sure. Sure. Appreciate y'all for hanging for the whole class. Appreciate y'all as well. Wadu Washuk. We see y'all at the next class.